In this movie, you will use TinkerPlots features to explore temperature and ground level ozone over 111 consecutive days in New York City. This graph shows the maximum temperatures of these days. Pull out another plot and graph the ground level ozone. Fully separate the values. Turn off the color and stack the cases. Ozone levels of at least 50 parts per billion begin to pose health risks for some people. When looking at this data, we might ask the question, are hotter days more likely than cooler days to have dangerous levels of ozone? Here is the day with the highest level of ozone at 168. Click on it to highlight that day in both this graph and above in the temperature graph. Notice that the temperature that day was 81 degrees, which is not one of the hottest days. Clicking on the day with the lowest ozone reading, notice that it was not the coldest day, but it was one of the cooler days. A pattern cannot be detected when looking only at single days. Instead, click and drag the mouse to highlight all the days with ozone levels below 50. The majority of them had temperatures of 80 degrees or cooler. Next, highlight the days with ozone levels above 50. Most of them have temperatures above 80 degrees. This information clearly indicates that higher ozone levels are associated with warmer days. Using the brush tool is another powerful way to detect trends. Click on the brush in the temperature graph and click and hold the mouse button to highlight the days starting with cooler temperatures and moving to the right toward higher temperatures. Pay attention to what's happening in the graph of ozone levels below. Moving the brush shows that for a while the highlighted ozone levels are mostly towards the left side, but once it is about halfway through the temperature range, the highlighted cases are appearing more and more toward the right, in the higher, more dangerous ozone levels. Move the brush across the data again and summarize what this shows. As the days get warmer, the ozone levels tend to get higher. Now take a closer look at just the temperature graph. Click on Ozone Level in the data cards. This colors the cases in the temperature graph according to their ozone level. The darker the color, the higher the level of ozone. Notice that, as expected, the darker colors for ozone appear on the graph where the temperatures are also higher. This agrees with the previous claim that days with higher ozone levels are associated with days with higher temperatures. Another helpful tool in exploring this type of graph is the color meter. This tool displays a rectangle that shows the average value and color of the cases within it. This rectangle contains 26 cases. Their average ozone level is about 18, and this is the color for a value of 18 parts per billion. You can change the size of the rectangle by clicking on the edges and dragging the mouse, or its position by clicking inside the box and dragging it. As you slide the color meter along the temperature axis, it gets darker and darker, showing again the relationship between higher temperatures and higher ozone levels. Double-click the rectangle to leave snapshots along the temperature axis that again show this relationship. Turn the color meter off and fully separate the ozone level values vertically to create a scatter plot. Reading a scatter plot takes practice. Move your eyes across the graph from left to right along the temperature axis while paying attention to what is happening to the values of ozone on the vertical axis. As we look across days with higher and higher temperatures, the value of ozone level also tends to increase. Let's use the color meter to help us read and summarize this scatter plot. Turn on the option Line Trace. Now, as we move the color meter, it traces the average ozone level as we move toward higher temperatures. This is very useful in summarizing the trend. For the lower values of temperature, the ozone level doesn't go up very much. But once the temperature gets to 70 degrees and warmer, the ozone level increases at a pretty consistent rate.